Hey there guys, and welcome to what I hope is a reasonably well anticipated video after almost 2 weeks without uploading while I had some friends staying. As you can see in the title, this one's going to be about my GoPro Hero 5 and Calmer grip, kind of like a long-term review and some tips, as well as how I managed to fix the audio. It's kind of a redo of a video that I did much earlier on in the channel, but one that I've always wanted to remake because the last one was just so crap. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So as you can see, this is me. I'm set up with my GoPro Hero 5 and my recording device as I wear it while I'm riding. You will have heard in my much earlier videos that I said about how terrible the sound was. You will have seen a bunch of videos going into how terrible the sound is, and it really is, it's terrible. So what I'll do in a minute is I'll show you live here, you know, in the studio here, how the sound varies between my GoPro and my Zoom H1 that I've got in my pocket here with the kind of lapel mic on there, if you can see that. And then what I'll also do is I'll take you back to some footage that I filmed ages ago in Orhiva when I did the switchbacks video, and I'll show you that's kind of the worst the audio has ever been, and that kind of demonstrates really well how the GoPro will focus on one thing at one time, and then it will zoom into the kind of motor in the gimbal itself, and it just is like, you know, it kind of just does its own thing really. It's a difficult piece of equipment to work with from that respect really. Unless you record your sound externally, you really haven't got a clue if you've got anything even close to usable until you start editing the footage afterwards. So, but first of all, let's get into the good things. So what I find with the GoPro Hero 5 and Calmer grip, the Calmer grip more notably, if you forget all of the terrible sound quality and stuff like that, the gimbal as a gimbal and a stabilizer itself, from what the research that I've done, and I've never used one before, but when you start creating and you start uploading a lot of footage and recording a lot of footage and watching a lot of footage, you start noticing stuff in other people's footage that's different to your own. And one of the things that I don't like about a poorly set up Evo SS and the Phaotech gimbals is the panning. So like the GoPro Calmer grip, I personally think is one of the best on the markets for keeping up with what the rider's doing as naturally as possible. And on top of that, you don't have to set anything up. So with this gimbal, you can just take it straight out of the box, press record, and it will do this. Like, you know, there's nothing that I have to think about, set up, adjust, play with. Whereas you'll notice, and I won't swap to anyone's footage now, but you'll notice with a badly set up Evo SS that, and I think with some Phaotechs that I've seen as well, that what happens is, so whereas the GoPro Calmer grip notices that you're turning and starts to keep up relatively soon, a Phaotech or a badly set up Evo SS, what tends to happen there is that, like, especially for mountain biking, the mountain biker takes the corner and the stabilizer seems to realize it much later on, and so what you get is that you whip into a corner, and like 3/4 of the way around the corner, the stabilizer will decide to suddenly catch up in one sweeping motion. And for me, that's no good. It makes the ride look much less natural. I think the GoPro, in terms of a stabilizer, is just fantastic. I think, and the same with the Hero 5. I mean, I'm not going to do too much of a review on the Hero 5 itself. It's more my setup. But the Hero 5, the video quality is just absolutely outstanding. So the video that this equipment picks up is just absolutely outstanding for me. But on the sort of downside, and you probably will have heard this before, is that the GoPro Calmer grip, when you plug, because this is all part of the same, you know, manufacturers, they obviously made this stabilizer with this GoPro in mind. So they've made it so as the GoPro plugs in, and what happens for some unknown reason is the GoPro gets its charge from the grip while it's plugged into it, so you don't really see much battery depletion in the GoPro because the grip is constantly charging it up. Now it kind of makes sense in one sort of way of looking at it, in that the Calmer grip will keep the GoPro charged up, so when the Calmer grip is no longer any use because it's flat, at least you've still got a fully charged GoPro to use for the rest of the day. But if you're like me and you want it all to work, all, you know, for as long as you possibly can, then it would have made much more sense for there to have been changeable batteries in the grip, or for the grip to charge off the GoPro so as I could carry spare batteries for the GoPro. Makes more sense to me. So that's like a not so good thing with it there. And then the absolute obvious thing is the sound, and that's what I want to dedicate a bit of this video to, is how bad the sound is. So at the minute I'm recording on my Canon G7X, that's what I'm recording this video on. I'm filming with my GoPro, so as I'm capturing sound with that as well, and I'm recording with my Zoom H1 as well, which is in my pocket here now. So yeah, if I run through my setup quickly, I'm hoping that you can see that okay from there. My wind muffler is right in the way. But the way that I roll with my GoPro is obviously I've got a GoPro chesty, I've got the Osprey Raptor bag, so I've got this chest strap kind of as low down as I can get it, so as it's supporting my chesty underneath there and stopping that kind of movement. I also loosen off this nut here and pull the bottom of the GoPro right into my stomach until this sort of chest plate is flat against my chest. Then I cinch in that nut with my little spanner thing that I've got. And then in my pocket here goes my Zoom H1, which has got a lapel mic that goes up to the top of my chesty here. So that's the setup. When it's on and working, it's really good. I think the sound that comes through this is brilliant. I think that the wind over sort of thing on here is going to work much better than any GoPro with little ones stuck to it. That there is going to be much better. I can hardly ever hear any wind in my videos, and that's even on some really windy days, not just the movement of the bike. Where this setup becomes a little bit cumbersome is that if you can, like in bike park days, that can be a real nightmare. So I've got to take this bag off, which means my mic is attached to my chesty, which is obviously going to stay attached to me. My bag has got to come off, which is what my Zoom H1 is attached to. So I have to start unclipping things. And then likewise, when I finished a run in a bike park, I also switch my GoPro off, switch my sound off, which means having to do this relatively often while I'm straddling the bike, which seems like no big deal, but it's surprising actually when you're sweaty and hot. Sometimes you don't actually get it in that pocket there. There's been a few times where I've stuffed it just in between my waist and the kind of waist strap. I've got away with it twice now and it's not fallen out. But yeah, it's a bit of a nuisance, and then the cable gets a bit tangled up. But just to be clear, if I had to buy this again, this isn't the setup that I would buy. I spent 700 quid on a GoPro and the stabilizer, the gimbal for it, and I refuse to just say, what a load of shite that is, and then move on to the next, £500-600 setup, which the best of which at the minute is the GoPro Hero 4, I think it's black, and then the Evo SS set up properly. It's just a whole other learning curve for me. This works quite well for me, so this is what I'm going to stick to. So it's a really good suggestion for those of you that have already bought this setup, and then, just like another $100 or 80 quid and you can get the Zoom H1, another 20-30 quid on top of that, and you can get a decent lapel mic, and then you don't have to just completely throw this away and start again, So what I'll do now, and I've done this in the past, the last video I did was terrible, that's why I want to redo it again, and you'll notice I've got my studio lights as well finally, so hopefully that looks really good. So what I'll do now is I'll switch to the GoPro audio as it is how I stand here. So yeah, you'll hear the GoPro audio will be nowhere near as crisp as what it is on my lapel mic, but normally in these conditions where there's no wind, there's not really much stabilization going on like there is when I'm on a mountain bike. So this won't pick up, it shouldn't pick up too much external noise. But so that's the GoPro Hero audio. I'll switch back to the audio on the lapel mic now. But just to reiterate how bad and unpredictable the sound is with this setup, what I'll do now is I'll whip over to that bit of footage in Allheaver, and what it will do is I'll show you, if I can find it, the actual point where the GoPro decided to focus in on something else. So we'll take you to that now. You guys can decide whether this is the channel for you. That's what my trail rides are going to be. I'm going to get down the hills. So as you will have heard there, that audio is just absolutely terrible. It's really, really bad, totally unusable. Hopefully you will have seen the switching point between where it was just bad audio to where it was absolutely terrible audio. And it really, as you can see, if you've done a whole ride and you've got no external recording device and that's solely what you're relying on, as you can tell, you'd just be so disappointed with that. It's a real pain in the arse. What I'll do now is I'll show you probably the best I've managed to achieve with my GoPro Hero 5 while out mountain biking. And then just for comparison, I'll flick over to a bit of mountain biking with my Zoom H1 doing the audio recording, although you've seen a lot of that before anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we're still on the Zoom H1 audio for this video as I record all my videos. But what we're going to do quickly is I've taken the GoPro, I've kept it recording, and I've taken it out of the Karma grip now because there's supposed to be some really big differences between this in a case, out of a case with the door on, but I've never really tested it properly. So just to give you some comparison, I'll show you that now. So if I hold the GoPro about where it is when I'm riding, this is the kind of audio you can expect with the door off if you were to run it in an Evo SS with it not picking up the gimbal noise and stuff like that. This is kind of, the door off is supposed to be one of the worst scenarios for this particular GoPro. So the sound you're hearing now is just through the GoPro, but with that end door off the GoPro itself, which is how it needs to be inside this Karma grip, because it obviously all plugs in. And then what I'll do is I'll put the door on, keeping it recording. So that's it, still recording with the end door on now. I'll hold it back in place there. I don't know if when you've still got a recording going live, if it actually improves with the door on, and you know, or if it needs to be switched off and on again. So you may hear some difference there with that door back on. It may sort the audio out, and this GoPro might actually have usable audio outside of any harnesses, cases with the door on. And that's about it, guys. I hope that this helps. I just really wanted to have a go at redoing that video that I did before and show you how I wear my equipment. You can see it's not as good as just having a GoPro on your chest and having nothing else to worry about. You do have to think about your audio. You do have to sync up in post when you're doing your editing, but it's not really that big a deal. It doesn't bother me too much. Yeah, the bottom line is that GoPro shouldn't release their latest GoPro for my money. I mean, I don't know what the ratio is of people that use these things underwater versus the people that use them out of water, but I don't think anyone in any community would want to sacrifice out of water audio in favour of having waterproof microphones. It makes zero sense to me, but this topic has been covered in great length in other videos. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of how I achieve what I feel is quite high quality video footage now. The video and the stabilization is easy, no problem whatsoever. This stabilizer is brilliant for that. The Hero 5 is just awesome at capturing video in 4K, in 2.7K. You can do it in 4.3 or 4:3 ratio, so as you've got like a big box to work with if you want. Super view, absolutely fantastic from that front, but the audio, massively disappointing. So I hope that helps you guys. Anyone out there with the Karma grip that wants to sort out their audio, this is what I found to be the best way to record externally. And yeah, that's us back after sort of 10 days off with no videos, a week off floating around in the pool. It was great, but that's us back into it now. So my next episode of the new mountain bike show will be on Thursday, I think, if I can get it out in time for that, and then we're back riding again, guys. So thanks a lot for watching. On your bikes.